pointed this out to me before, and I had to try to explain it to them, but you know, they were arguing with the whole concept of like, well then why does this Gishki monster right here cannot be normal summon or set if you can't, you know, just tribute a monster and summon them without a ritual spell? And that was an interesting thing. You know, it's a basic misunderstanding. You know, I understand, of course, yeah. It is weird why it does say it cannot be normal summon or set when clearly you couldn't do that anyway. So that right there was weird for it to say that. So then it would give you the impression that, wait a minute, is there something I don't know? Is there something that Konami forgot to mention that we can summon these monsters? Because here's another one. Cannot be normal summon or set. Must be first ritual summoned. Right? And then this one says must be first ritual summoned. This one says you can ritual summon this card if any gives you ritual spell card. Now this is part of the argument. It's like, see, this says you can ritual summon it by any of the spell cards, but it gave the impression you could just tribute 2 monsters to summon it. And I like that idea. You know, I mean, that's awesome. I would agree based off of what the card says. It sounds like, yeah, you can do whatever you want. There's nothing on it that says you can't. Like the way this says, cannot be normal summon or set, must be ritual summon. You know, so that right there gives you an idea. Then it tells you you can ritual summon this card using the ritual spell card, blah blah blah, and then it has an effect. Now on the ritual spell card, it tells you the conditions in which you can summon the monster. Obviously, you can summon the ritual monster by triggering, you know, monsters equal to this ritual monster's star level, which is similar to synchro summon. You know, the levels gotta add up. But sometimes they have it where some of the ritual spell cards, of course, for the other ritual monsters, have it where you either have the same level or higher. You know, you just gotta meet some of the requirements. So if you want Summon Relinquish, for example, was a 1-star, but you have an 8-star, you can, because you have to meet the 1-star requirement or plus. It wasn't that big of a deal. But there's some cards that do have the specific requirement where you have to have the exact star level. Yeah, the tribute has to equal the exact star level of the ritual monster you want to summon. So there's no discarding an 8 for a 1-star ritual summon. Now, when it comes to the idea of being able to just summon the monsters regular without the ritual spell cards, you know, like you do with any other monster in your main deck, then you run into these bad boys. Relinquish, you know, you run into Paladin of White Dragon, which is a 4-star, Herald of Perfection. Who wouldn't want to tribute, you know, a monster? Quickly summon this bad boy. Or special summon with Valhalla, and then boom, you already have the Herald of Perfection lock, right? It's like, that'd be broken. So that's why I have these down here on the little side, because these are like special conditions. Like, these shouldn't be where you could just tribute and summon. That'd be fun, but of course make them broken. They're already broken when you do summon them through their only condition of summoning, which is ritual summoning. So it would make them even more broken if you could just summon them without ritual spells. Then, you know, ritual spells have very little use. They would have very little use. But one other thing I know about ritual spell cards that I have an issue with is why do I have to have the monster in my hand? Why can't I just play the spell card? Offer the tributes, you know, tribute the monster from my hand, or my side field, wherever the monster is at, my field or hand. Tribute the tributes that's required to summon a monster that's listed on the spell card, right? And summon from my deck or hand. It would make it too broken if I could do it from my graveyard, because I sworn mail decks, all types of broken shit. It'd be too broken. But just logically, it is like, since this is a special summon and it's through a condition of a spell card with a cost, blah 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 blah, why not from the deck? Another thing is, why did the ritual monsters have to be in the deck? Why couldn't they be in the extra deck? You know what I mean? But of course, if they're in the extra deck, you always have access to them. But it's not that different from having access to them if they were in the deck, if you had the right spell. But that's the main thing is that you played the spell card If I'm right, in the anime, that's what you did. You play the spell card, you offer the tributes, and then you summon the monster from the deck. Because it was literally a ritual summon. It's like you're literally summoning forth a creature through a ritual, through the activation of a spell card with a specific effect. So the monster should have been able to be summoned from the hand or deck, not just from the hand. So little things like that is like was an issue. So they should have been able. You should be able to have been able to ritual summon. Summon a ritual monster, either from your hand or your deck, with the spell cards. And then, of course, have some restrictions on some of these cards, like Herald Perfection, for example, make it where you can only ritual summon, and you could special summon this if properly summoned. But the main thing is you can only ritual summon this card. You can't tribute summon for it. Like you can't just summon it or drop it with a holler or something like that. You would have to actually ritual summon it before you could do anything else with it. Same goes for Relinquish, because I would love to be able to just Relinquish, Thousand Answer Stick. Those are my favorites. I would love to just throw Relinquish into my decks. I mean, I'll throw them into every deck. Every deck will have a Relinquish. I mean, that's how broken it would be if I could just summon Relinquish for his ritual spell cards. He would also be awesome, obviously, in Spellbook, spell-based decks. Play him with the field spell. So get rid of the spell casters, lock the field, take opponent's monsters, have some field control. You could also combine with like Scrap Dragon, so whatever monster you take from your opponent, you can pop the monster that you equip to Relinquish with that effect. Pop it with Scrap Dragon's effect, pop something in opponent's side field, take another monster, and just keep doing that stuff. Have a nice little lock. So that would be crazy. Not saying you can't play Relinquish. Obviously, if you have the spell card or you have the Dark Ritual spell card, obviously you can summon Relinquish. It's not too complicated to summon, and he is worth the time. But he would be so broken if you could just summon him without the ritual spell. So he would be one of them that I would be like, yes, he has to be ritual summoned. We can't just make it where you can just summon it and throw it in every deck, because he'll just be broken and then he'll get banned, and I don't want that. Same thing as Pageman White Dragon. That'd be so fucking awesome. Summon him, right? Tribute him, boom, blue eyes right off the bat, right? Bursting instructions, store everything every monster your opponent has. You know what I mean? Combos like that, all crazy. Plus, he has a decent effect on his own. The fact that you get attack a defense position monster instantly destroyed if it's face down by his effect. And then of course you can tribute him in phase 2 and bring out blue eyes and blah blah blah. It's like all types of crazy combos. But now we got Maiden, Blue Eyes Maiden, or Maiden of the Blue Eyes. I prefer Blue Eyes Maiden, but anyway, I think she's Maiden of the Blue Eyes now. Point is, we have her, so. But it would be nice to see Pageman White Dragon, make a come up. You know what I mean? I would love to see him in action again. But we got Maiden, so I guess people are happy with that as is. But the point is, these three right here, just these three as examples, should have the restriction that you can only ritual summon them. But you know what I mean? He could have had a condition, well, tributing 2 monsters to summon it wouldn't have been that bad. You know what I mean? Granted, he'd be stronger than Blue Eyes, but it wouldn't have been that bad. You know what I mean? He's decent. I mean, I like him. I'm a fan of him. Could have made it where you have to tribute 3 monsters to summon them regularly, or use the ritual spell card and then you can special summon. But that's the thing about the ritual summoning, is just it would have gave you the ability to summon these monsters in an alternate way. The alternate way would have been through a spell, where you could summon the monster from the deck through the use of the spell, where you can it's like Assault One Activate. You know what I mean? Play Assault One Activate, you tribute Stardust, right? You bring out Stardust Assault One, right? Something like that. Like that was the idea. You met the condition to summon something, and it was worth it, and that monster has good effect and whatnot. So that's the way I believe the ritual monsters should have been. It would make sense for them to have been like that. That you can normal summon them just like any other monster, but there is a condition that makes them different than other monsters, which is why they're called ritual monsters, is that you can summon them through the means of a spell. A spell card can summon them. So that would have been cool in general, because a lot of times I always another thing is I always wanted to create a ritual deck. Like literally, all the monsters are just ritual monsters. You got spell, and then you got spells and traps. Granted, they created Gishkis, so you pretty much just get that right off the bat. Because I could use a Gishki, like I could use a Gishki Zelgigas with a Gishki Zelgigas, and use the second Gishki Zelgigas as tribute when I play Gishki Mirror to summon the first one. You know what I mean? So I could use a copy of the monster to summon a copy of the monster. And then of course with the fact that I can return the ritual monster back to my hand, the monster that I attributed for the ritual summon back to my hand to put the spell back in the deck, that's cool. That's cool right there. I would like to a little bit different in reverse. Put the monster back in the deck so I can add the spell to my hand. So that I could ritual summon again if I wanted to. And that would have been better. But you know, some people would be like, oh, that's broken, but it's like Geminites do it. Why can't the Gishkis do it? You know what I mean? And plus, it would make sense because it's the fact that these monsters can only be summoned by ritual summon. It'd be different if you could just tribute and summon them. You know, you can normal summon them. You know, stuff like that. That would have been a different story if they were, you know, like ritual monsters 2.0. Like they're the second generation of ritual monsters, where these ritual monsters you can actually summon them without ritual spell cards. That would have made sense. You know what I mean? I would have understood that. It's like, oh, okay, you can summon them without the spell card, so that's why adding, you know, the spell card back to your hand is not necessary. You know, so that would have been maybe too broken in that case. But it's understandable. Just period is like, I would like to have the spell card added to my hand. But of course, there's a monster you could pitch them to add the spell, blah blah blah, all this synergy. But it would have been nicer to put the ritual monsters back in the deck, add the spell card back to the hand, to keep the rotation going, especially to keep ritual summoning. That was the most important part, because you can't summon these monsters without the spell card. So that's why I would prefer to put the ritual monsters back in the deck to get the spell card back. Shit, I would even deal with the idea of banishing the ritual monsters to add the spell card back to my hand. That way they'd be like the Geminites. You know what I mean? Because the only way you could summon ritual monsters is through the spell. So you need the spell. It's very important to have the spell, especially when it. Granted, there are like 2 other versions of the Gishki mirrors, Gishki's spell card you can throw in the deck. Not as good as just the mirror. You rather just play the mirror and just recycle it and spam it over and over again, just like you can do with Gemini Fusion. You can keep using it over and over again. But then I also thought it's like, not many people play fusions all like that until the heroes came out. Then people started to play fusions and all this other stuff, and then you got into the realm where they gave you Fusion Gate. You know what I mean? So it made it where you can constantly fuse. So you weren't limited to just making one fusion because you only have one polymerization. You can fuse multiple times. So the more monsters you have, the more fusions you can do. So then it would be nice. It's like, why didn't they create a ritual gate? Why haven't they created a ritual gate yet? We need a continuous way where we can ritual summon. You know what I mean? So it's like, because we have Fusion Gate, so we have the ability to fuse a lot. Why don't we have a way to ritual a lot? You know what I mean? So that was an interesting thing. I always thought, yeah, why isn't there a ritual gate yet? Because I definitely would create a ritual deck if there was a ritual gate. I would definitely create it. Because obviously I have 3 ritual gates, 3 terraforming, so I could always get ritual gate, and then my whole deck would just be full of ritual monsters. You know what I mean? And just I'd be pitching ritual monsters. I'd be banishing. That's probably. Oh no, because you have to thinking. No, I think it would make sense to have to banish, make it less broken. You know what I mean? In the sense that if you were to be able, if you were able to use the ritual gate with Gishkis, for example, manage them or reduce the possibility of you spamming them too much, that, because of the whole, like, you send them to a graveyard, that just means you can just add them back to your hand, right? Because you'll probably pitch the mirror. So you're finding like ways of sending the mirror to the graveyard, just so you can get the ritual monster back to your hand, then discard the ritual monster to summon the ritual monster. You know what I mean? Little things like that. Like, so to reduce that, it's like banish the monster, summon a monster, and it's like, so you give up a monster from your hand to summon a monster from your hand. Since we can't ritual, like banish a monster from your hand, right? Summon a monster from your deck, that'd be way too much. I would like it, but at the same time, it's like, well, that's too strong, it's too powerful, too broken, blah, blah, blah. Let's not do that. It's like, all right, let's make it fair enough where I banish the monster, summon a monster from my hand, just like a ritual summon would normally be done. So it's, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I can go through all the monsters and be like, hey, this monster should have the restriction where you can't just summon it without ritual summoning. You have to ritual summon it. Obviously, so forth and so forth. But the idea was, why didn't they have the ability where you could just summon them? And then the ritual summoning was just an add-on. It was just a way you could. Because we do have Chimeric Fortresses, the V to Z monsters. They can be summoned without polymerization, without fusion gate. You know what I mean? So maybe Konami, maybe it does have plans to maybe eventually create a ritual gate, which would be nice. Or they might have plans to create ritual monsters that you can summon without a ritual spell card, just by meeting the conditions, banishing the banishing a monster, summon a monster. Or they could have ritual monsters that you could summon them by banishing other ritual monsters. You know what I mean? Like, that'd be interesting. We'll see what happens in the future. But this was just to show my idea of, like, they should have been able to be summoned without tribute. You know what I mean? Like, they were like, here's another thing. Yeah, I almost forgot this part. Most of the, like, I'll say maybe 60% of the ritual monsters that you can find, like on DN or period, have no abilities. Like Dark Magician of Black Chaos, for example, he just says you can ritual summon this card with Black Magic Ritual. It's like it says you can ritual summon this card with that spell card. And then of course the spell card tells you what to do in order to summon it. But on this card itself, it's like you can ritual summon this card with that card, with that spell card. Doesn't mean you can only, because you see it says you can ritual, not you can only. It's an 8-star, like any other 8-star, so I should be able to tribute 2 monsters to summon. So it's like, and then it has no ability, so it's like, then why am I going through all this trouble for a monster that has no ability? Imagine me playing the Black Magic Ritual spell card, dump BLS to the graveyard just as summon Magician of Black Chaos, and now I got BLS on board at the beginning in the graveyard, which actually had an effect and is stronger in the graveyard. Instead, it's like, wait, that don't make sense. I'm giving up a monster with an effect for a monster that doesn't have an effect. And then the only problem with that is that the monster I summoned that doesn't have an effect is not even stronger than the one that had the effect. So that didn't make no sense. So I'll summon a monster that has no effect, and I'll pwn with it, but it has to be able to pwn. It can't ritual summon a monster with 0 attack, 0 defense that has no effect. And I spent like 4 or 5 cards just to bring a monster with 0 attack, 0 defense, and no effect. It's like, I must be, unless I'm trolling, there's really no point for me to do anything like that, to summon a monster with 0 attack, 0 defense for no real reason. Alright, and that's the end of the video.